What's the aim for you with Fireway? How many stores do you want to get to?
Looking at last year's sales figures, the total combined sales across all the stores is about 37, 38 million. So that's on 100 stores. So if we can get to 500, you know, you're talking like 250 million.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the CEO Cast. Now, today we're going back to basics. In a world where everything's going digital, online businesses, crypto, NFTs, you name it. Today we're going back to basics because I'm with the owner of Fireway Pizza, the CEO, Mario Aleppo.
How you doing? I'm good.
So for people who don't really understand what Fireway Pizza is, what is it?
So Fireway Pizza is a fast-fired Italian pizzeria with a bit of a twist on it. We started in 2016, 5 years old. And yeah, it's going well. We've expanded through the country, internationally, and we've got a lot in the pipeline.
Just to understand the kind of levels that we're talking, obviously Fireway is everywhere. You sponsored, House of Bangles for Still Bangles. You've got how many shops now? How many branches?
105.
105. Recently opened up in Amsterdam as well. Literally last week, I think.
Yeah.
So just to understand the levels that we're talking about, if I said to you, Mario, I want to buy Fireway off you, what's the minimum figure?
To be honest, if I'm being fully honest, I don't think there'll be a figure right now, unless it was something, ridiculous, because the main reason for that is we're just getting started, Each business has a life cycle, and I think we're at the very, very, very early stages of that life cycle. Although we've grown, rapidly, and we've got a lot going on, we're still very much, in the infancy of the business.
Yeah.
So I don't think we'll be looking to even think about selling for at least another 4 or 5 years, to be totally honest with you.
Is that the ideal plan, having an exit plan to sell on, or?
Yeah, I think we're definitely grabbing the attention of the competition, like the big players. So I think within the next 4 to 5 years, I think we'll be at that stage where we can ask for, a decent price.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
What would you value the business at today then?
I think in the food and drinks business, I think a reasonable valuation would be a 10x on what your profit is annually. And the year just finished. Last year we done just over £1 million profit in head office.
Okay.
So the end of this year, we're going to add another 50 stores. So you're looking at double that. So 2 million net profit, 10x multiplier,
20.
about 20
That's bloody
at the moment. But like I said, we're still in the infancy, so it wouldn't make sense to think about selling it at this point.
So as your small business grows, LinkedIn Jobs is here to make it easier to find your next candidate faster and for free. Create a free job post in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to tap into the world's largest network. Then add your job on the purple #hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring so your network can help you find the right people. Simple tools like screening questions help you find the right candidate with the right skills and experience for the job. So it's easy and quick for you to prioritize who you want to interview and who you want to hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 for delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. So the next time you're looking for your next candidate, make sure you go to LinkedIn. LinkedIn.com/CEOcast. Once again, that's LinkedIn.com/CEOcast and post your job for free. For people watching this, they might easily think that, a company of this size and caliber, it might have easily come from essentially a lot of investors, or people might say, I'll be honest with you, daddy's money and all that sort of stuff. So whereas it looks like such a corporate company, such a massive company within the space of 5-6 years, I want to kind of understand your background and where you came from. Yeah. Because from talking to you and seeing other interviews and stuff, you seem like such a guy. Essentially, you speak our language, you're from the ends. You know what I mean? So I want to understand your background.
So just a kind of normal, ordinary background. I was born in Mitcham in South London. Pretty much raised by a single mum. 7 of us, I've got five brothers and sisters. So there was about 7 of us in a 3-bedroom terrace house in Mitcham. Went to school around Mitcham. Went to secondary school not too far away, dropped out of school about 16. Went to college, dropped out of college, and then spent the next like 5-6 years doing nothing, you know, productive, messing around, and then finally had the idea to start my own business. Not because, if I'm honest, not because there was some sort of passion. The two main reasons that I started a business, I would say, was number one, to make money, you know, because we need money to survive, and number two, because I didn't like conforming to rules, I would say.
Yeah, what do you mean by that exactly?
I mean, like, I wasn't a fan of school. I wasn't a fan of being, you know, told what to do and being certain places at certain times. So my idea at the time was, you know, you have your own business. You wake up when you want, go to sleep when you want, do what you want. Ironically, I found out once I was, you know, a couple years in, that it was the exact opposite. You know, I wanted to wake up when I want, and then having a business, I realized that I hardly slept because there was too many things to do, too many things to worry about. So ironically, it was the exact opposite of what I anticipated. But having said that, you know, it's gone well, and I wouldn't have changed it.
Did you, when you were growing up, did you grow up without money, with money? What was your situation like then?
I would say without money. We didn't really, my brothers and sisters and I, we didn't really want for much, but most of our stuff come from like the car boot sale.
Okay.
You know, every weekend we used to go to car boot sale, my mum, and I enjoyed it, you know, looking around, finding like bits and pieces. We never had anything, I would say, like brand new. I think you're either born into money, or you have to make money, you know, or if you're happy living without money, then that's also, you know, also fine. But from where I was from, no one really had money, so there wasn't any sort of in your face kind of, you know, jealousy. But I think these days with social media, everyone sees what everyone else is doing around the world, so there's more of a motivation or jealousy, whatever you want to call it.
There's also more pressure as
envy,
well.
there's more pressure.
Yeah.
But back in the day, I didn't really have money, but I didn't really need money at the time because, you know, living in Mitcham, there's not much to do. And then I went to school, and it was at school, I think, that I first started, you know, making money from selling sweets in the playground. So I was going to ask,
where does your whole entrepreneurialism?
I would say it was from there, because I went to secondary school. All my friends went to the school in Wimbledon. Yeah. And me and maybe 3 friends went to another school a bit further away, and they split us up into different classes. So I didn't know no one, and selling sweets was my kind of way of, number one, making a bit of money, but number two, sort of socializing. So that went well, and I think that's where it kind of grew from, I would say.
How would you have been at that point then?
I would have been about 13, 14.
Okay.
And I think at that time, that was the main reason. And the second reason was, at that time, it must have been about 1999 or 2000. At that time on television, all they showed on BBC was repeats of Only Fools and Horses.
Okay, yeah.
And I think watching that on repeat constantly, and then selling sweets in school, that's where it started, in my opinion. Looking back at it, that's probably, you know, that kind of trying to make money, not like millions, just like it was more of the fun of making the money than the actual money itself.
Process of it, yeah. Also getting the money, yeah.
Yeah, it was more of like the process and buying things and selling things, opposed to, you know, the end result of just having money in the bank. Having money, yeah, I would say so.
Did you ever envision Fireway Pizza to be where it is at today, at this scale?
No. I knew it would be big, don't get me wrong, I knew it would be big, but I didn't think it would be, you know, international, multi-millions. I didn't envision it being that big. I thought it would just get to a decent level where I could make, you know, a decent amount of money for myself, but the fact that it's, you know, blown up is, yeah, I can't complain.
So where did the whole story of Fireway come from? Was this your first business that you started up?
I had another business before, selling coffee and sandwiches in like a pop-up shop in Tooting, which failed miserably.
When you say miserably, let's talk about that. Go on.
It just failed, man. It just maybe the wrong location, I thought it was easy, and I think people going into business, they think, look, I've got a dream or a goal, and I'm just going to do it, and it's going to work. But there's going to be so many obstacles in your way. And going back to what you said about not being born into money, you know, if you're born into money and your parents give you money, or you've got a wad of, you know, income where you can just employ people.
You're comfortable.
You're comfortable. So regardless of whether the business goes well or not, you're comfortable. You don't really care. You know, that's a different kind of mindset that I didn't come from. If I had a load of money in a bank, you can think of a business, you can employ managers, regional managers, directors, salespeople, marketing people, you know, graphics people, and you just say, look, that's the idea. You guys go and do it, and you get paid at the end of the month. But when you don't have no money to start with, you have to do all them things yourself. There's no other option, you know.
So with your coffee business, you didn't start with much money then?
No, I think I started it with maybe 4 grand.
Okay, so
4 grand,
with 4 grand, essentially, from what I'm getting from what you're saying, is that you learned how to do everything in that sense.
Yeah, although it weren't successful, I think I invested 4 grand and I walked away with maybe like £400 after like 5 months. So it failed, but at the same time, it gave me an idea. It gave me like a stepping stone into the whole world of business. You know, people don't realize the kind of behind the scenes parts of the business. It's not just buying something and selling something.
So was that only running for just 5 months?
About 5 months, yeah.
Do you think it failed because of the business itself, or do you think that if you had continued with it the same way you've continued Fire Away, it would have been successful?
No, I don't think I put much effort into it at that time. And it was my first business, so I didn't really
have much experience.
But I think everything was just wrong, from the size to the location to the menu to everything. But at least it gave me like an idea, you know.
So you learned all of that from there, and then you took it into Fire Away, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
So talk to me the process of starting Fire Away. How did the idea come about and the whole journey?
I mean, my family, I'm Italian, so my nan came over from Italy when she was 18 with like £20 in her pocket, 1949, 1950. She worked as a cleaner, and then she saved up some money, opened a cafe, then sold it and opened another cafe, and that's what she did. But pizza, obviously being Italian, pizza, pasta, food in general, has always been that kind of, you know, a main part of the culture.
Yeah.
And my nan always used to say there's 2 businesses that, you know, you'll never run out of customers. One is food and one is funerals.
Yeah, we will literally talk about this off camera. Food will never go out of business.
Food and funerals, you know, people got to eat, people got to die. So I think I kind of had that in the back of my head. So yeah, I was looking for a franchise myself. Had some money saved up and was going to open a Subway. And then at the last minute, after doing all the calculations and how much you can make and, you know, how many other Subways there are around, and I just kind of just at the last minute changed my mind.
How much were they requiring to get a Subway franchise?
At that time, it was about 5-6 years ago, so I think it was less than 100 grand. It was about 85-90 grand.
Still a lot of money though, isn't it?
Still a lot of money, but they have systems in place where you only put down like 20%.
Yeah, essentially the system's already established, isn't it? Fair enough.
And the banks, you know, are more willing because it's a franchise, it's an established franchise. So was going to do that. At last minute, changed my mind. But the shop was in place, you know, deposit been paid, all the rest of it. So I thought, why not keep the Subway layout? Because that's what initially drew me to Subway in the first place. Keep the Subway layout, but just switch up the product. Yeah. And that's it. It's not like rocket science.
And the pizza came about.
Yeah, pizza. I thought, what do people eat? And you know, pizza's been voted the most popular takeaway food for the last few years. So I think, you know, the market is there, but with anything, you have to come with something different. In my opinion, no matter what industry you're in, whether it's food and drink, you know, construction, health and beauty, clothing, digital, regardless what industry you're in, as long as you come with something different and you put a twist on it and you stand out from the competition, there's no reason why you won't succeed, in my opinion. What makes you guys different then? I mean, because obviously there's more pizza franchises. You know, you got the likes of Domino's, there's other ones, TGF, etc. There's always loads popping up. So what makes you guys different? What spin on things do you take when you started out? I think it's the fact that you can get like a restaurant standard pizza, like a proper Italian pizza, without going to like a proper like posh Italian restaurant. It's got that kind of fast food, fun, young atmosphere, but it's a proper product. You know, if you're selling crap and it looks nice in the shop, people aren't going to come back. You know, so I think we've got that balance of the product and the actual the branding. And the speed, you know, is fast. We use a proper oven compared to the companies you mentioned that use like an electric conveyor belt. So we use like a proper fire oven. Well, like in one of those like pit sort of things, you put it in there. So it's a proper oven. it's fast. You know, it only takes like less than 3 minutes to cook a pizza.
Yeah.
The price is affordable. Customers can see everything in front of them. There's nothing like hidden at the back. So I think there's a few factors, but all in all, it works.
You know, that whole cooking experience brings back throwbacks, because when I was in sixth form in college, we used to go to a Lac shop down the road, and that's the exact same way they used to do it. You used to see everything happening, them making the dough, rolling it all out and everything, and then behind them they had the big like a brick oven sort of thing with the flames in there and everything. You see it takes in and out, and you know what's happening with your food, and it's quick and easy. So essentially like that, and that's what you've done with Fireway.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, sick. So talk to me about the whole design process of the shop. When you first got it, obviously you mentioned that, you know, you wanted to keep it that Subway sort of layout, but how did you know what to put where, how to, you know, the whole logo design, your whole colour theme of black and orange, all these sort of things, what came to you when you started it?
I think in the beginning we didn't know, you know, 100% what was going to go where, but we kind of, as more shops opened, we kind of tweaked things and adapted it and realised what worked out what worked and what didn't work. So I think trial and error as you go on, you know, they improve and what's going to be close to where. But it's a pretty simple, in my opinion, it's a pretty simple setup. You know, you've got the oven, you've got the toppings, you've got the chef there. So I think people try and overcomplicate things, especially me, like when I was first thinking of what business, and people overcomplicate things. You know, I think the simple things work, but you just have to add like a twist to it.
So then with that twist, obviously it's been successful since. When was the first shop? What area?
First shop was not far from my house in South London in Sutton, Rose Hill, Sutton, and then Thornton Heath, and then Streatham, and then...
So you covered pretty much like South London at first?
Yeah, because that's where people saw it, you know. There was no investors. There's still no investors up until this point. I'm 100%, you know, shareholder owner. So pretty much the franchisees are technically the investors, you know. So from the first guy that came in the shop and said, I like the idea, can I, he was a customer. He said, I like the idea, can we do like a franchise? So he opened one, and then another one opened, and then someone else saw it. It was more like word of mouth, opposed to, you know, us marketing specifically for franchisees.
Well, I guess your whole marketing strategy's changed, or definitely evolved in that sense, but we'll talk about that later on in this podcast. But I want to just understand your franchise model. What made you want to go for the franchise model instead of thinking, okay, if I continue successfully with this store, I'll then have enough money to open up the second store yourself, rather than franchising?
Honestly, I'm quite impatient, so that would have been a very slow way of doing it. Although we may have been more profitable and made more money, you know, I'm happy for other people to be involved and for them to make money, you know, opposed to just me making all the money. So I think, you know, we could have gone down that route, and a few people have asked that, because you do have issues with like franchisees and going down the franchise model.
It is risky, because essentially, you know, you not being there all the time, it might be a risk and a hurt to the business, because you don't know what's going on there.
True, but likewise, even if we owned all the stores ourselves, I still wouldn't be able to be in all of them anyway. So then you rely on staff, you know. So I think it's better that we've got a massive network of franchisees, master franchisees, and that there's more people involved, and there's more people making money, but there's more people sharing the responsibility. Yeah,
and essentially countering to what I just said, even though, you know, you're not there, the person who's franchising it, them being the owner of that shop, they're going to treat it like their own business, because essentially they're the ones in control of it.
Correct.
So what would you look for in a person? If I came to you and said, Mario, look, I want to franchise one of those stores, what do you look for in me? What characteristics?
I think the main thing is, you know, people got to be hardworking. I think a lot of people go into business thinking that it's going to be easy, even myself included, and you don't realise till it's too late. And you got to remember that, you know, they're using our name and our reputation. So I think people need to be hardworking. You know, I speak to a lot of people, they want to get into business, they want to do this, they want to do that, but then when it actually comes down to it, and it comes down to the obstacles and the sacrifices, you know, sacrifices was a big part of it. And when they say I want to open a business or I want to have a franchise, but I also want to go gym 4 times a week, or I also want to go raving Friday and Saturday, I also want to go on holiday 4 times a year, I also want to do this and do that, then really you don't want it. You know, they might say they want it and they want to do, you know, they want to have a business, they want to do this, but when they really, you know, ask themselves how much you want something, because it's not easy, and you need to be consistent. You know, it might not be successful straight away, but if you're consistent over time, you know what they say, if you hang around a barbershop long enough, you're going to get a trim. You know?
I ain't heard that saying, but that's a good one, you know.
So these things take time. It's not going to be an instant. Otherwise, everybody would do it. You know, if it was just easy like that, everyone would just do it. Why is not everybody doing it?
Do you think that, you know, being around so many different people, do you think that people, there's two different mindsets? You definitely have your hungry people, and you definitely have, you know, people who are a bit more comfortable and don't really like to step out of their comfort zones.
Yeah, not everybody. You can't put everybody into like a same category, but I find that people with money, they're not like you can, even me included. Back in the day when I first started, you know, you don't have no money, you don't have no other option. So I think, and it's again my opinion because I haven't been in that situation, but if you're starting a business, a new business, and you've got, you know, a load of money in the bank, whether you're as hungry as someone who has got no other choice, in my opinion, they wouldn't be. But you never know. Everybody's different. But you know, in my opinion, if it's your only option to succeed, then you know you're more likely to succeed.
Your Instagram handle says it all, humble but hungry.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that though. You know, when you first started up, what was the thing that you were working towards? Did you have like a materialistic goal sort of thing, or maybe a figure? What was it that you?
If I'm being totally honest, yeah. As I said, when I first started the business, it was to make money and to sleep all day and not have to wake up, you know, whenever I had to go to work. But ironically now it's the exact opposite. The money part is there, and I remember people saying to me, you know, other business people at the time, when I'd meet them at various events, they would say like, don't focus on the money. You know, the money will come, don't focus on the money. And it's all well and good people telling you that, but at the time when you don't have money, your focus is money, because unfortunately, you know, we live in a society that you need money to survive. Not necessarily money makes you happy, but it does to a certain degree. Yeah. You know, and that was the aim. But then as I've progressed, and as I've grown, it's not about the money. I think you need a certain amount of money to, you know, to be happy, but it's not millions, it's not billions. It's, I would say, like 100 grand a year, and you can get that with a decent job. So
9 to 5 and that,
I don't think you can, you know, aim. You can't have money as the only aim. I think it needs to be, you know, something else. Money is important, but it shouldn't be the main aim, because they print money all the time, you know. So your aim can't be something that some guys print in a factory. It needs to be, I would say now my aim is, once I'm good, now that I'm good, to make sure my family are good, you know, not just financially, but in general good. And then after that, my friends, and then after that, anybody else that, you know, needs help. I think that's, but people will say, well, you're only saying that because now you've got money, which could be, you know.
Could be the case, yeah, you never know.
But yeah, I think your mindset changes, you know, as you grow, not just in business, in anything.
Now, you mentioned earlier on, you know, you get different types of people where you know, when you look for people in when they're opening a franchise, they could be demanding, or they could want, you know, 4 holidays a year, this car, that car, whatnot. Are they really hard working? Now, obviously, recently, if people will follow you on Instagram, they'll see that you got a Rolls Royce. So, at what point did you decide to enjoy the fruits of your labour and buy yourself the car that you've dreamt of?
That's a good question. I would say, well, going back a bit, I remember when about 3 years ago, when the first guy came up to me and said, "Oh, I'm interested in." He already got a shop with us, and he said, "I want to take, you know, your brand abroad. So how is it going to work?" He told me the country that he was interested in.
Which one was it?
It was France. Okay, not too far away. And he said, "I want to take it there." So I said, "That's no problem. Give me, you know, give me." I think it weren't a lot. At the time, it was a lot, because when you don't have money, you know, giving people like large figures is. But now, going back, probably regret it and thinking it wasn't enough. But anyway, said to him, "Give me, you know, 100 grand." And he was like, "All right, no problem." He gave it to me. And the first thing so he owned the whole country now, you know. Yeah. So
like he owns all the Fireways franchises.
Yeah. So anybody that wants to open in that country has to go via him, and he'll charge them and sort it out. But getting 100 grand. You know, when you've only been in business for a couple of years, first thing I wanted to do was go out and buy a car. So I remember I went out, as soon as he transferred the money, I went to a showroom to look at like a mad car. I can't remember what I think it was a Mercedes. And it was about 3 o'clock, and the showroom closed at, I think, 5 o'clock. And I went there and I said, "I want to buy that car." but I want it today. The guy said, no, it's going to take like a few hours to do the paperwork.
You look like a G-Wagon sort of guy, so if I had to guess, it's probably something like that.
No, it wasn't, you know, it was a, what was it? It was a C63, like a new one.
Okay, yeah. Cool.
And yeah, so I went there and he said, no, we can try, but it's probably not going to be, you might have to come back in the morning, early morning. And luckily he said that because overnight I was thinking about it and I thought, do I really need to spend this money on a car? So by the morning he's calling me, I just ignored his calls. So I didn't end up buying it, but I think that's kind of normal, unfortunately, that when you don't have money and then you get money, you just want to spend it straight away. It's mad. So looking back, you know, again, you learn by your mistakes. Luckily, that was a mistake that I narrowly swerved. But when do you decide to start treating yourself? I would say.
I thought you were gonna say you didn't take the deal and you went to the Rolls Royce the next day or something.
Nah, spend even more. Nah, I think
double up.
I think you need to be comfortable before you spend that kind of money. I think now that I've got like a couple of properties and a couple of nice cars, then you know, and that's when I decided to buy that car. You need to be comfortable. I don't think you can put, you know, I think people say once you can afford it, you know, twice or 4 times, then that's when you can. But I think because you just need to be sensible, innit? You need to be sensible because tomorrow if something was to go wrong, and I worry a lot, you know, I'm optimistic, but at the same time I worry a lot. So I think and work out if there's any possibility that, you know, something could go drastically wrong tomorrow, then driving around in a Rolls Royce is going to be pretty pointless. Yeah,
no, it is, to be fair. I have this conversation a lot with myself and others all the time, to be fair. It's like, yeah, you might have the money to buy the car, or whether it's finance, cash, whatever the case may be, but then the contrary to that is, have I achieved enough? Do I deserve this car yet? So when you got the car, was it, did you have to set a certain accomplishment? Did you have to reach it, obtain it, or?
Yeah, it was when we had 100 shops.
Okay.
So I said to myself, when we get 100 shops, I said 2 things. I'm going to buy the car and I'm going to step back, you know, and put someone else in charge. And we just opened our 100 shop about a couple months ago. Yeah,
congratulations, bro.
Thank you, bro. So I got the car, but I haven't stepped back. Because you know what it is, when you get to that certain level and when you don't come from money, you know, you kind of value money more in a way. In some ways you don't, because you can go and spend it very quickly, but in some ways you do, because when I was interviewing possible, you know, CEOs to take over my role, and for me to step back a bit, they were asking for like 150, 200 grand a year. And then I'm really thinking, for me, 150, 200 grand a year, I'm thinking I'll do it myself. But you got to remember, it's an investment. When you're bringing someone in, it's an investment. You're not doing it, you know, just so you can go and have a rest. You need to do it as an investment and what then people can bring to the company. You know, I think it's important to have a good team. I don't think you can do everything yourself. And ironically, that's what I thought having a business was about in the beginning, doing everything yourself, you know, but you can't. Number one, you can't because you can't have the skill. Not one person can have all the skills required to run a successful business. But number two, you can't because you won't sleep, you'll just burn out.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's just like this podcast. I thought in the beginning I was a bit stubborn in that sense, thinking, nah, I can do everything myself. But obviously, you see my man here, our lovely camera guy. Shout out yourself. But also, there's, you know, editors and everything behind the scenes. And the second I started bringing people in, I saw a lot more growth, a lot more success, and that's when I realized you can't do this all on your own. It's
100.
Probably the best thing to bring other people into
100. I think you need to share the reward and share the responsibility. Like, we got a guy in there, got him from Louis Vuitton. He was quite high up in Louis Vuitton. The guy is like a top negotiator. He's a young guy as well. I think he's like 23, 24, but he's like a top negotiator. We went out to buy a suit a couple of years ago in Central.
What does he negotiate for?
Like, he runs a distribution center, so he buys in things and then he prices it and then sells it to the stores. So literally he's just non-stop negotiating. Like, we bought a suit in Central a couple of years ago, and he's like negotiating with the guy, and I'm saying, you can't do that. It's a shop. The price is the price. But he's there negotiating. After like 20 minutes, the salesman's like in tears, crying, like ended up giving us free shirts, free ties, you know. So he can sell literally ice to Eskimos. And then I've got a lady that can do mad graphics on a computer, you know, Photoshop. I don't even know how to to even turn on Photoshop. So we've got her, we've got the guy that he's been there from the beginning, the head chef. He opens all the stores, makes sure that the store openings go well. So there's a variety of different people, each with a variety of different skills, and each that brings something to the table. I think if you're around a good table, you need to think what you can bring to it opposed to what you can take from it. And as long as, you know, people work hard, then I think they should be given the opportunities.
So you mentioned distribution there. Before we get to that, I just want to ask you one final question off the back of that. Why did you decide that you want to take a step down? Take like a step back almost. Not a step back, but
yeah,
you know.
a step down in the shadows. I think, number one, because it's good to have more time to yourself. You know, you can't forever do, you know, the same thing.
Yeah. Are you a family man as well, if you don't mind me asking? Or?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. I don't have no time.
Okay, not married yet, no?
Nah.
Okay.
Soon, maybe.
I thought it would have been because of that or something.
No, I think you just need more time to yourself. I think as you get older, it's not all about, you know, making money. There's no point being the richest man in the cemetery. So I think you need to, you know, take time off and recover. And on top of that, you know, you've got to be honest. There's people out there with a lot more experience than me, and I think there's different parts to a business. There's the first parts. You know, some people are great at making businesses, creating them, and I've taken it to 100 stores. But then there's other people that take companies from 100. They might not be good at creating companies or starting brands, but they take it from 100 to 500 stores. You know, and then there's other people that only come in and take businesses from 500 to 1,000 stores. You know, our competitors have over 1,000 stores, so we're very, very early on in the business. But I think they'll get to a point where you yourself as a CEO can even hold back that business, because it's great saying, look at me, Mr. CEO, but is that what's best for the business? And the answer can be no.
Stitch Fix is for men and women, making online shopping for clothes a lot easier. You know them times when you're shopping for something online and it comes to your house and you realise it's the wrong colour, wrong size, everything about it is just wrong. Or sometimes you simply can't find any of the clothes that you like. Well, this is where Stitch Fix comes into play. So this is where it gets simple, because all you got to do is go into Stitch Fix, create a profile, select your style, your colour, your taste and your size, as well as your budget. And once you've selected that, a box comes to your house a few days later with all the clothes inside of it. And you know what? I was quite impressed, to be fair, because something like this looks quite cheeky, I ain't gonna lie, and it comes straight from Stitch Fix. There's also no subscription service, so you're not tied into anything either. You just simply schedule it as you need it. So to get started, all you got to do is go to stitchfix.co.uk/CEOcast to get 20% off when you keep all 5 items. And now even better, they're waiving off the £10 styling charge from your first delivery. Once again, that's stitchfix.co.uk/CEOcast and get 20% off when you keep all 5 items. So what are you waiting for? Make your clothing shopping life easier and use Stitch Fix. What's the aim for you with Fireway? How many stores do you want to get to?
I think realistically,
I mean, you've grown rapidly. You've got over 100 and how many stores now?
105 stores in 73 months we've been going.
Do you know what I mean? That's rapid. That's rapid growth. That's almost 2 months essentially.
Yeah.
So where do you want to take it to? How many stores?
I think realistically we can comfortably get to about 500 stores within the next 6 years.
Easily.
And I think at the moment, looking at last year's sales figures, the total combined sales across all the stores is about 37, 38 million. So that's on 100 stores. So if we can get to 500, you know, you're talking like 250 million.
So with the franchising, you're the first franchisee you've had on the podcast. So I want to know, if you don't mind saying, how it works essentially. Obviously, you own the brand, they own the franchise.
Yeah.
How do you get a kickback from that? How does it work? Does it work in like? So
in the beginning and even up until now, we don't take a commission, like a percentage, of the sales. We just take a set fee of a few £100 a month, and that's very reasonable. If you look at the competitors, they'll take a percentage. You know, like Subway 9%, Domino's 8%, approximately. So each one is different, and they'll take percentages of whatever you make. But we've kind of, again, twisted it and just charged a set fee of a few £100 a month. Yeah. And we grew, you know, and we were comfortable. I wasn't making a massive amount of money, but we were comfortable and we were growing the brand. The first 3 years, the business has been going for just over 5 years. So the first 3 years of the business, it was just about, you know, perfecting the brand, improving, growing the brand. It wasn't about making money. And then the 4th year and the 5th year, we said, no, we're going to take over the distribution. So we got a warehouse near Kingston. outgrew it within about 6 months, so I had to leave there. Now we're in Milton Keynes. We've been here for about 8 months, and we're already outgrowing this one. So we took over the distribution. So it's only really the last 2 years that we've been making money. The first 3 years was just growing the brand, and I think people need to realize that if you're gonna start a business, you're not gonna be turning over millions within the first year. You know, highly unlikely.
Yeah. So how much, if I said to you I want a franchise, how much would it cost me?
It would depend on the size of the shop, location, the condition, but approximately about 140, 150,000. But not everyone pays that in a lump sum. They pay a deposit and then the finance the rest of it.
And what's the benefit of me having a franchise?
I think everything's in place for you, you know. A lot of people say, why would you want to open a franchise if you can open something yourself? And I think there's that level of support and less risk if you can see it's working somewhere else.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of people, and I've met a lot of people through this that have got, you know, a shitload of money but don't know what to do with it. So with a franchise, it's kind of, the plan is already in place. You don't have to worry about menus or products. It's all kind
The
of
whole system's
set
there.
up for you. Yeah, man. So when we originally started, we had it was in the garden, in my garden.
Yeah.
I had like a tent, and then after we had like a garage space for one car. Started from that. Then we got the warehouse in Kingston, outgrew that. Then we got this one. So it's kind of grown from.
This is massive.
Yeah, it's kind of grown from there.
So with the distribution now, talk to me. Why do you feel like that's necessary? You've got everything in the warehouse, so what is it? What's necessary about the distribution? Why do you feel like you needed that?
I think the ease of operation for the stores, so they don't have to go out and get things themselves. It gets delivered to the door, and also the quality for us to maintain like a level standard
Across the whole board.
across the whole board.
Yeah.
You know, it has to be done. Our flour comes from Italy, so it's a special mix. You know, the cheese comes from Wales, the tomatoes come from Italy, the olive oil comes from Spain. So it's all, you know, a good quality across the whole board.
You've got it all in there, and that way I guess you can maintain quality control then.
Yeah, it is headache. Like, don't get me wrong, it's massive headache delivering to like 100 stores every week.
I suppose some companies, the way they do it is just order directly from the supplier themselves rather than having their own distribution within the home country.
That's what we did in the beginning.
Yeah.
That's what we did. But then we thought, you know, we're giving all this business to a random company.
Yeah.
Why not we do it ourselves and invest that money back into the business?
So you got that. So how it works essentially is the franchises order from your distribution and you send it out.
Yeah.
And I guess it's a double win for you then, isn't it? In that case, because you're getting the sale, you're getting the money, and you're getting the branding out there even more. So it works, to be fair. But what else? Obviously, you mentioned that, you know, the distribution, you're outgrowing it now. So what do you do at this stage? Like, because would you keep that warehouse or would you move to another bigger one? Because with these whole contracts on the warehouse, it might be with a certain amount of years.
You can't get out of it that easy. But luckily for the one that we outgrew already, we found someone else to take it over. So if you find someone to take it over, they don't mind you leaving, but you can't just leave, which is the thing about physical businesses. As you said, a lot of people getting into digital businesses, but with the physical one, there's like leases, contracts. You can't just walk out
and leave. How big is that one now?
That one that we left was 3,000 square foot.
Yeah.
And we moved into this one.
Is that the Kingston one, the 3,000 square foot? Okay.
We left that one. This one is 13,000. And then the next step would be like double, like 25,000.
Have you found one or, you know?
No, we're still looking. But this one can do us till the end of the year, like 150 stores. And then we've got some time.
So with the growth rate that you're having, my question would be, why not go for one bigger than 25,000 square feet? Because essentially, you know, give it another.
I worry a lot, innit? I worry a lot, and
about what?
Just in general, if things go wrong. But I think we will have to or get another one similar size in a different location. But I think we'll get to the point where, you know, when you've got 500 shops and you're delivering every week to 500 shops, it's a big operation. It's a big operation now.
So with that, I'm guessing you have all your delivery drivers, trucks and stuff like that, or
everything.
Everything.
So you've got to sort out trucks, insurance, petrol prices going up now, fuel prices. So that don't help, and then bringing in things from different countries, containers with Brexit, and there's more paperwork. It's a bit. I think behind the scenes there's so much things I couldn't even list out all the different things that there are.
Yeah.
So for people looking to get into a similar business, there's a lot of things that you don't realize.
Yeah, it's not just a walk in the park.
No, it's
Definitely not.
But saying that, I mean, I've made a lot of mistakes along the way, and a lot of people have messaged me and said, what would you advise, you know, the best way to do this, or I'm interested in opening this business, or I'm interested in franchising my business, and all these questions. And I think if I had someone there when I started to ask, I would have not only saved a lot of money, because money you can make back, but saved a lot of time, and time you can't get back, you know. I remember I had like an accountant for like a year, and I thought he was great, but it turned out he was crap until I found another accountant, and then I stayed with him, and then I switched to another one. And if someone had told me in the beginning, look, go direct to this guy, I would have saved not only money, but I would have saved a lot of time.
Yeah.
Not just accountants, but, you know, graphics designers, and there's so many solicitors, you know. I've spent thousands on solicitors, you know, and that I could have done something else and used a different solicitor and got the job done quicker. So I think if I was to open another business, it would probably be more of like a consultancy business around helping other people grow their company.
It's funny you say that, because there's quite like, obviously they have experience as well. There's quite a few people do that. Like I feel like they get to a point in the business where they know everything off the back of the hand, and it becomes a walk in the park from them at that point. Even though it's hard to everyone else, they know it off the back of the hand.
100%.
So, you know, helping other people is the way to go.
The best experience is just going through it yourself.
Yeah.
You know, I never knew the things that I knew now, that I know now, if it hadn't have been for making mistakes. But to save other people from making the same mistakes, you know, that would be good.
Let's talk about Holloway Road.
Yeah.
Because whole marketing strategy behind that one.
Yeah.
I want you to explain it. So from what people saw, they thought it was a bit of a madness that went down there. But it turns out it was actually your plan.
Yeah. It was. It was fun. It was fun. That's the thing with these kind of. You need to add a twist. You know, regardless what business you're in, regardless what industry, you need to add a twist. You need to make it stand out from the competition. And I remember I was in a little organic shop somewhere out in like Oxford in the Cotswolds.
Just a quick one. Just to if you describe what the shop was, what happened, what was the marketing behind that? Like, what did you do?
So, like I said, I was in the shop and I saw them growing herbs in the shop, and I thought that looks a lot like weed.
Okay.
Anyway, forgot about it for like a couple months, and then we were opening a shop in Holloway, and then it was a massive front, and we covered it with stickers said coming soon, and the builders were in there for a couple of months. So I kind of had the idea, I don't know how, but I thought, imagine if people thought there was like a grow going on inside. So we ripped part of the sticker back. It looked like someone had just ripped off the front of the shop sticker. Yeah. And then there was about 20 plants, basil plants with lights and like a silver, you know, tent. And people just thought it looked like a grow, and people were stopping, taking pictures. It went viral on the Instagram, on the pages, and it went well. We got a lot of, obviously there were some people, you're always going to get some people that will just complain regardless of what
publicity is publicity, isn't it, at the end of the day?
Yeah, it went well. It was the shop's like one of the busiest shops. It's one of the most prime locations as well, but it's one of the most busiest shops.
Do you think it's one of the most busiest shops because that's one of the shops that was the most talked about for that reason?
Yeah, I would say so. People were talking about it before it even opened. You know, they were looking forward to it opening. So that was it was a successful opening.
Well, that's a clever marketing strategy. So where do you move from here? Because following off the back of that, I see you sponsored House of Bangles as well.
Yeah.
So you guys are definitely dishing. I know I've met your marketing guy. So you lot are dishing quite a bit of money into marketing essentially.
Yeah, I think you have to.
What's the reason for that?
Especially in these days, because everyone's on their phones. You know, everyone's on their phones, on the computer, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. So I think you have to. I think there's no other option. You know, not everybody does it, but I think in this day and age, you have to put at least something into. We sponsored, you know, a few things from Crepton Conan's birthday. Conan's birthday, it's House of Bangles. We're doing something now with T1, like a game show that was in Holloway Road. We're doing something in Amsterdam with some of the local businesses. So I think you have to, you know, Facebook and Instagram, they make ridiculous amount of money. On social, on advertising. Amsterdam's
got a different culture because obviously everyone knows Amsterdam is, you know, going to the place to, I don't even know what I'm allowed to say on YouTube, but you know, going to that place for that reason. So obviously you got the munchies there and then straight after it. So like, what have you got planned in your head to showcase that side of things?
I
feel like in my head that's a different market. Sort of.
It's different. The people, I just come back from there last week. We opened last week, and so far so good. You know, they're averaging about 150 pizzas a day. So it's good for a brand new thing, because you got to remember it's brand new there. There's no one's heard of it.
Yeah.
So in that respect, it's gone very well. But I think you have to be careful, like you say, what you do there, because doing a grow in that shop, you know, it probably would have been a different. People actually genuinely thought it would have a proper grow. So I think you have to look at the local culture, look at the community, and decide what's the best route. But the plan is we've got more shops opening there by the same owner. 5 shops within the next 2 years.
Has that guy taken Amsterdam?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
South Holland and North Holland, and another small town called Utrecht. So that's under construction. On top of that, we've got people out in India. So we sold the master franchise for India, for most of India, Canada, New Zealand, France, Germany. I think that's it. And we're talking to someone in UAE.
You mentioned earlier that, you know, before you charged 100,000 for France. If I said to you, Mario, I'm Pakistani, I want to take over Pakistan, what's the figure now?
We'll come to an arrangement. They can come to a deal. I think, but likewise, people have said to me, not just about countries, but I want to open a shop.
Yeah.
And then I say yeah, and never hear from them again. And then 2 years later, they call me and say, I'm ready now to open it. The price ain't the same. He's like, yeah, but you told me the price ain't the same. You know, the price today is not the price tomorrow. And I find it, you know, I try hard not to laugh when people call me.
I'm trying to get you back to that price.
And then call me too. They disappeared, you know, you didn't call me back. And now, you know, so for you, it will be at a discount rate. But I think Pakistan can work. I honestly think Pakistan can work. A lot of the franchisees that we got, a lot of good friends of mine now, Pakistani, Indian guys, they've got a lot of experience in that industry. So, so looking at it, I think it can work. I think pizza can work anywhere, no matter where you're from. You know, pizza is like a universal.
Have you got America sorted as well?
No, I think, my opinion, in America, there's a lot of similar brands. There's a lot of, in my opinion, I don't know if they eat anything, you know. So for us to bring like a quality product, I'm not saying there's no quality product.
Yeah, you're gonna have to large your pizzas by like 5 times for them, their portion sizes.
Yeah, I think we could probably at one point, but right now I think Europe can bang. You
mentioned earlier that, you know, you're taking a step back, but you also mentioned the fact that you invested into property and whatnot. So what was your decision for that? Why? I mean, essentially you can't keep all your eggs in one basket. That's one way of looking at it. It's definitely a highly successful basket. But then why diversify?
To be totally honest with you, it wasn't planned. It was, my mum was trying to sell a house. Yeah. And she was struggling to find someone to buy it, and she needed to sell it so she could buy somewhere else in a different area. So I just, after a while, just said, you know what, I'll buy it, which helped her to move somewhere else and for me to, you know, rent it out. So it wasn't a planned thing. And I think regardless of what industry, there's going to be headaches, you know, whether it's even just buying a property and renting it out, you're going to come up against headaches. You're going to come up against problems, obstacles, regardless. I don't think there's any business where it's just going to be plain sailing, in my opinion. So
essentially you got into property because you wanted to help your mum out?
Yeah, pretty much.
So then did you keep buying properties after that, or?
No, it's four apartments, 4 flats.
Oh, okay, so that's perfect.
That's enough. Apart from that, yeah, that and this, I think that's enough. I think at one point I would like to do something else. It'll probably be food related, because I'm a big like food person. Yeah, I'm a big foodie. So it's good to, you know, stick within what you know to play it safe.
But what else would you do in food?
I've got a few ideas. I don't want to give it away yet, but
because I'm just trying to picture it. Obviously you got restaurants and chains in that sense, but then what else is like?
I think there's a lot of foods from different countries that haven't actually exploded here.
Oh, okay.
If you could bring it here, I think it would.
So maybe you'd have an idea of creating a different brand.
Yeah, a totally different. But once this one is, you know, fully, we're looking at different options, whether an IPO, like listing it on the stock market, or selling a piece of it, or, you know, but like I said, right now we're growing rapidly, and it would be the wrong time to, unless the offer was ridiculous, then it would be the wrong time to even contemplate, you know, selling it.
So with everything that's going on, 6 years deep into this game alone, what does it mean to you to be a CEO, to be an entrepreneur?
Right now, it's a lot different than when I started, as I said. But right now, it's just about bringing people together and making key decisions. But in the overall bigger picture, I would say that myself, I'm a very, very, very small part of the entire business. You know, I think you need to get to the point where you are a very small part of the business, because then technically you've created the business, you know, but it's not just about me going around saying I'm Mr. Fireaway, you know. I would prefer that the business runs without me, not that, you know, I'm the business. I don't think, unless you're not interested in doing other things, or because I go to food places all the time where the food's like amazing, you know, and I say to and I introduce myself to the guy and to the owner, and I say like, this can like blow up, like you could expand, like, but they say I don't want to. I'm happy with this, you know. Some people, it's not all about, you know, making millions. Yeah. If you're happy and comfortable, then there's nothing wrong with that. You know, if you've got one shop and you're making a decent amount of money, then who's anybody else to tell you, no, you should be making like millions? You know, if you're happy, I think the main aim is to be happy, isn't it? It's not about money, because as I said, money is infinite. It goes on and on and on, and therefore your target will go on and on and on, and you'll never reach your target. You just end up, you know, being the richest man in the cemetery, which is pointless.
You know, you mentioned that, you know, being comfortable and whatnot. With the growth that Fireaway has had, you've clearly stepped out of your comfort zone quite a bit. So how do you find that zone of being uncomfortable and realizing, okay, I've got to tackle that area?
In the beginning, I didn't want to be uncomfortable, you know, I didn't want to be stressed. But now, in a kind of weird way, you know, you need to be uncomfortable to grow. You
enjoy it.
Yeah, if you're not uncomfortable and there's no obstacles and nothing's difficult, then you're not growing. On the same way, it's not good to be stressed. You know, stress is a massive killer. But you need to be a bit stressed. You need to, you know, stress your brain out to kind of go to that next level, because otherwise you're not progressing. If you're not struggling, people need to struggle. You know, that's my honest opinion. And when people come and ask me for advice, I happily give them advice. But you need to know, you need to struggle, you know, in a kind of bad way, that people need to struggle to get, because I think otherwise everybody would do it. You know, everyone would be driving around in Ferraris. Not that that's the aim, but I'm just saying, you know, people need to struggle to get things, you know, because otherwise everybody would do it and there would be no, you know.
Success. No, I hear you for real, because even like if I relate to this podcast, I was comfortable setting up just 2 cameras. And I thought, no, okay, to level up, I need to step out of a comfort zone. And I am a bit uncomfortable when I have 5 cameras out, you know, setting up the lighting.
You're telling me.
Because I'm taking your time. I'm taking your time up, and that makes me uncomfortable. But then it makes for, I'm hoping anyway, such a brilliant podcast.
Fingers crossed.
Right, so Mario, I want to thank you very much for coming on. But just before we end, I like to treat the audience for tuning in for this amount of time and gaining the knowledge. So I think we should do a bit of a giveaway. Be like, you know, let's help the people out. Let's feed the people. Yeah. So you tell me, what we're saying, what should we do?
Whatever you want. Free pizza for a year. I think that sounds fair enough.
So what we're going to do is we're going to give away free pizza for a year to just one person.
Make it 2.
Yeah, make it 2 people, yeah? All right, free pizza for a year for 2 people. All you got to do is make sure you're subscribed, but that's the main thing. That's how you're going to get into it. Like the video, and the main thing is comment what you like about Mario's story or the business ethos that he follows. And also make sure you tag your Instagram handles at the end of the comment, and we'll be able to decide in the next video. Mario, once again, I want to thank you very much for coming on CEO Cast and sharing your story, your success, and I hope it inspires many, many people to do the same sort of thing.
Likewise. Thank you for having me.